This week I was reading, actually yesterday, the words of Tobias Lear, the first secretary in the White House. And I couldn't find a connection to the Parsha, but I wanted you to know how hard our rabbis work to help you connect to these things. It's 2 hours reading. It's very interesting, his diaries. But this week, I want to ask you, have you ever really thought about what flirting was like 3,000 years ago? We have one? You don't count. Anyone? It's a weird idea, but conveniently we have a record, right? And it shows up in a commentary in the Midrash on this week's Parsha. So this is a participation event. Can someone here read me Exodus 38:8? Loudly. It's in the Chumash, Exodus 38:8, and if we have a brave soul, we have a brave soul. Exodus 38:8. This worked better in my head.
The breastpiece was made in a style...
Wait. That's actually 39:8.
Got it.
Got to go back a good bit. All right.
Here?
Yep.
He made the laver of copper and stand of copper from the mirrors of the woman who performed the tasks at the entrance of the tent of meeting.
Thank you so much. Okay, so here's a question. Great artisans, endowed by God, Bezalel are making the copper basins, right? And it says they're made from the mirrors that the Israelites carried with them. Now, first of all, if you were going to go, a camping trip, you said, I've got a great big bronze or copper mirror. I'd like to bring that along to go out into the desert. But actually, this is what happened. So, but there's a midrash on this. So our commentator, Rashi, says, what's up with this? He says that a lot. And he quotes a midrash on this from Tanhuma. And the midrash says, how was it that these mirrors happened? What's the deal with these mirrors? And apparently this is what happened. The Israelites in Egypt had these mirrors. And during the day, they would go out into the fields. And they would take them to their partners. And apparently they would hold up the mirror to each other and say, wow, I'm so much cuter than you. And then the partner would say, oh, no, I'm actually much cuter than you. And then, things would progress from there. So that's flirting 3,000 years ago. And God, actually, let's hold up on a second. Moses sees the people coming up to provide the materials for the tabernacle, the holiest part of the tent of meeting, and is like, oh no, none of that. You're not bringing those. I know what those were for. And enter God. Stage right. That's a joke. God is everywhere. Enter God, and God says, Moses, knock it off. You got to accept the mirrors. And so the mirrors are taken by Bezalel, and they become part of the holiest, the Holy of Holies, the holiest part. Rabbi Sachs has a commentary on this that I really liked. He's quoting a Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. He was the chief rabbi of England before Ephraim Mervis. And Rabbi Sachs says, you know, we have something really interesting in our biblical and rabbinic Hebrew. It's quite counter to the Greeks. The rabbi's great enemy is the Greeks, the Hellenistic Greeks. They're really opposed. Rabbi Sachs says, ahava, love, encompasses, it's one word. The Greeks, he says, they have eros, they have agape. They actually have 6 different words for love. And they are different aspects, whereas in Jewish tradition, we don't split them. Physicality and spirituality and love are all actually, no pun intended, closely intertwined. That's very counter to the Greek conception. And I'll note that many religions built upon the Greek conception of the distinguishing, the separation of love, to sort of look at physicality and spirituality in very different and separate spaces. But I looked at this and I wanted to go a bit further. Because look at what Moses has done. Moses' experience of God, he's just come down from Sinai, and that's the godly experience for Moses. That's why he's like, nope, get out of here, none of that. It takes God to correct him. What does Moses want to do? Moses wants to, in some ways, put God in a ghetto. Can't be here. No. God's not involved in that. God's on the mountain. Didn't you know? All of us do this. Every single one of us, right? We're eating. I don't know if God has anything to do with it. God's for the shul. For the rabbi's drash, I should hope. But in fact, sexuality, God's not there. No. That's not godly. Pick your thing. It doesn't matter. So many things in our lives we try, or maybe unconsciously, we excise God from. God's not part of that. God is in these delineated, clear spaces. But in fact, callback, right? God is everywhere. And I don't mean God in the sense of, like a dude in the sky on a cloud. I mean a sense of divinity. I mean a sense of meaning. I mean a sense of holiness. And so if there's 2 things I invite you to take with you from this week's Parshat, the first I might say that sexuality and love and Judaism they're not some separate, distinguished thing. But the second is that we have an opportunity in all of our lives to not push God out of it. Whether we're eating a meal, whether we're having a road trip with family, whether we're going on a walk, we have a chance to recognize God as part of that experience and to make our lives all just a little bit more rich because of it.